On most days, Jack Teller was the kind of man you could trust with your drink, your wallet, and, if you were really stupid, your experimental alien war machine. Today, an alien named R.H. Zal was about to make all three of those mistakes at once. The Valari starport glittered under the twin suns, its curved walkways and iridescent spires designed to impress anyone who wasn't from Earth. Jack pretended to admire the architecture, hands tucked casually into the pockets of his gray jacket. In truth, he was mapping entry points, patrol routes, and fuel storage tanks without moving his eyes. It was a habit he never quite switched off. R.H. Zal, tall and amphibian sleek, strolled beside him with the easy arrogance of someone who'd never lost a fight he didn't start. "You humans are endlessly curious," the pilot said. "You stare at things as though they'll talk back." Jack smiled. "Sometimes they do. Usually when you push the right buttons." R.H. Zal's narrow pupils contracted. He thought it was a joke. It wasn't. The docking platform was alive with motion. Valari engineers gliding on grav pads, drones hauling crates of parts, the metallic scent of ozone from constant reactor cycling. Amid the orderly chaos sat a sleek, bronze-gold craft unlike anything else on the pad. Its surface caught the sunlight and threw it back like a predator's gaze. "This," R.H. Zal announced with a flourish, "is a Sun-scale-class Starfighter. The pride of our ancestors." He waited for the gasp he assumed was coming. Jack gave a slow whistle. "Shiny." He didn't add, "and overarmed for something your size." "It has not flown in centuries," R.H. Zal continued. "Too complex for modern hands. Too proud to respond to the unworthy." Jack raised an eyebrow. "And you're letting me sit in it because—" Zal grinned, rows of sharp teeth catching the light. "Consider it a jest. A human in a warrior's cockpit, it will amuse my crew." "Well," Jack said, climbing the access ladder, "I do like being a team player." Inside, the cockpit was a blend of artistry and menace. Curved consoles etched with alien script, controls laid out like the bones of some long-dead predator. The seat adjusted automatically, molding to his frame. Displays flickered to life, unprompted. Jack ran a hand over the console. Smooth. Warm. Like it was breathing. R.H. Zal leaned in from the hatch. "Careful. The Sun scale once flew only for our finest. Legends say it could choose its pilot." Jack chuckled. "Guess we'll see if I make the cut." The pilot tapped a rune. The canopy slid down with a soft hiss, sealing Jack inside. The displays brightened, symbols rearranging themselves into patterns his brain insisted on understanding. Somewhere deep in the ship, a hum rose. Low, steady, purposeful. R.H. Zal?" One of the Valari engineers said nervously. "The core's powering." "That's impossible," R.H. Zal replied, though his voice carried an edge. "It's inert. Always inert." The hum became a thrum. The thrum became a heartbeat. Jack's heartbeat. Words scrolled across the main display. Not Valari script anymore, but something older, sharper. His eyes tracked the glyphs. He didn't know the language, but his mind supplied the translation. Candidate recognized. Combat air confirmed. The platform lights flickered. External clamps released with a chunk that echoed through the frame. R.H. Zal slammed his palm against the canopy. "Shut it down. Now." "I'd love to," Jack said, scanning the controls. "Problem is, I think it's driving." Thrusters ignited with a roar that vibrated in Jack's chest. The ship rose from the pad, smooth as a shark breaking water. Valari crews scattered, shouting. Sirens blared. Jack's calm crackled. R.H. Zal's voice, panicked. "Human. You must disengage." "Working on it," Jack replied, hands moving over the controls with a familiarity that shouldn't have been possible. "Though, I've got to say, she handles like a dream." The fighter pivoted toward open sky. Jack caught a glimpse of R.H. Zal's crew, some shouting, some staring in open fear. "Tell me," Jack said into the calm, "does this button make the big boom or the bigger boom?" "What does boom mean?" a Valari voice asked. Sal didn't answer. The fighter was already gone, punching through the upper atmosphere. Jack let the autopilot have its head, studying the displays. The ship systems were unfolding in his mind like a puzzle he'd already solved years ago. Flight controls, weapons arrays, stealth modules. Everything where it should be. The AI's voice was calm, precise, and disturbingly human in cadence. Trial protocols initiated. Maneuver Sequence 1. Evasive combat pattern. "Sure," Jack said. "Let's dance." The fighter banked hard, sensors pinging multiple craft rising from the starport below. 3 Valari interceptors locked on, their formation crisp but predictable. Jack slid between them with surgical ease, the sun scale reacting as if it anticipated his every move. Over comms, Valari voices shouted commands, warnings, disbelief. "This isn't luck," one said. "He flies like—" Jack cut the channel with a flick. No need to spoil the surprise. The AI pushed harder. Tight turns, rolling dives, sudden accelerations. Jack met every demand without hesitation. It felt less like piloting and more like remembering. Each movement was an echo of something buried deep. When the sequence ended, the AI spoke again. Predatory instinct. Acceptable. Candidate status. Confirmed. "Glad to be of service," Jack said, grinning despite himself. Ahead, the fighter's nose tilted toward the black. The stars beckoned. Sal's voice broke through on an emergency channel. "Human, listen to me. That craft, it is not merely a weapon. It is a relic of the war founders. If it accepts you—" Jack waited. "The galaxy will never be the same." The fighter surged forward, engines pushing him deep into space. Jack leaned back, eyes narrowing. "Guess we're skipping the tour." The stars snapped into place like pins on a map, the void ahead so dark it swallowed the fighter's gleaming hull. Jack Teller sat back in the seat, the canopy's glow reflecting in his eyes. He wasn't gripping the controls like someone desperate to stay alive. He handled them like a man adjusting the volume on a car radio. The AI's voice came soft and deliberate. "Engaging evasive protocol. Multiple hostiles inbound. Probability of survival, 98%. "That low, huh?" Jack murmured, flicking a toggle. "Let's see if we can make it interesting." Behind him, 3 Valari interceptors climbed fast, their engines burning sapphire trails against the black. Sal's voice broke through on a secured channel. "Human, power down the craft and prepare for retrieval." Jack rolled the fighter lazily, cutting across their targeting lines. "Sorry, Sal. She's got a mind of her own. You cannot control it." Jack's smile was thin. "Funny, seems to disagree with you." The interceptors closed in, forming a perfect arrowhead. A good formation. Tight, disciplined, exactly what a tactician wanted from predictable enemies. Jack let them get comfortable, easing off his acceleration just enough to lure them closer. The AI chimed again. "Initiating Combat Trial 2, Offensive Maneuver Integration." "Offense," Jack said, pretending to think it over. "Sure, why not?" The sun scale didn't lurch or roar. It simply moved, as if the universe bent to make space for it. Jack flipped under the lead interceptor, locked a firing solution, and tapped the trigger. A precise burst of plasma kissed the Valari shields, just enough to overload their targeting systems without destroying the craft. From the startled voice over comms, you'd think Jack had fired a nuke. He's toying with us." The other 2 broke formation, trying to flank. Jack anticipated it before they moved. He'd flown against predators before. The trick was to make them believe they were the hunters. "Come on, boys," he muttered. Take the bait. He pitched upward at a steep angle, throttling down in mid-climb. The first interceptor overshot. The second hesitated. Jack pivoted hard, cut across the second's nose, and dumped a flare of countermeasures that fried every sensor within 30 meters. To the Valari, it must have looked like chaos. To Jack, it was choreography. Human. R.H. Sal again, his voice cracking. Do you even understand what you're doing? Oh, Jack said lightly. I'm just sightseeing. The AI announced. Combat trial complete. Efficiency rating. Optimal. Engaging long-range jump. Jack barely had time to reply before the Sunscale's engines flared, a deep pulse that rattled his ribs. Space stretched, stars blurred, and the Valari interceptors dropped away like stones sinking in water. When the distortion cleared, they were alone. No traffic, no beacons, just an expanse of quiet space. Where the hell did you bring me? Jack asked. Navigational data restricted. Destination classified under candidate-level clearance. Jack exhaled slowly. Of course it is. He checked the readouts, fuel reserves untouched, weapons at full capacity, hull integrity flawless. The ship wasn't just operational, it was immaculate, like it had been waiting for this flight since the day it was built. The comm crackled with a new voice, older, steadier. This is Elder Thrixon of the Valari High Command. Human, you are in possession of a relic beyond your comprehension. You will return it immediately. Jack glanced around the empty void. You got a tow ship handy? This is no jest, Thrixon said. The Sunscale was created for war unlike any in your history. If it accepts you... A pause, as if choosing his words carefully. The galaxy will change. Jack leaned forward, resting one elbow on the console. Change isn't always bad, Elder. Sometimes it's overdue. The AI interrupted. Proximity alert. Multiple unidentified signatures entering range. Jack scanned the readings. 5 ships, different configurations. Not Valari. Their energy signatures were old, mismatched, and armed far beyond standard patrol craft. Whoever they weren't here for diplomacy. Friends of yours? Jack asked the empty cockpit. Unknown. Hostility probability. High. The ship spread into a loose net, trying to encircle him. Jack had seen the move before, over the deserts of Mars, in war games nobody ever admitted happened. You let the net close just enough, and then you broke it where it was weakest. He toggled the comms to an open broadcast. Afternoon. Gentlemen. You lost. Static. Then a gruff, alien voice. Surrender the Sunscale. Leave the human. Jack tilted his head. That's new. Usually it's the other way around. No answer. The ships accelerated. The AI's tone sharpened. Engaging defensive protocol. Jack's fingers hovered over the weapons console. Let's not overcomplicate this. The first hostile made its move, cutting hard toward his starboard. Jack sidestepped the attack, if sidestepped was the right word for a maneuver that left the enemy firing at empty space. He fired one shot, clean through their port engine. Not enough to kill, just enough to make a point. The second and third closed in together. Jack rotated 90 degrees, dropped under them, and launched a burst of decoys that mimicked half a dozen phantom targets. Confused, they split apart. Exactly what he wanted. One by one, the ships broke formation, harassed into retreat by a man they assumed was just lucky. When the last contact vanished from sensors, Jack eased back in his seat. You know, he said to the AI, you fly real nice. You operate with efficiency uncommon to your species. Jack chuckled. You'd be surprised. There was a pause, almost like the AI was considering something. Next phase of mission requires candidate to enter restricted sector. Designation, graveyard. Jack tapped the map display. The sector lit up in red, its borders jagged like scars. No beacons. No comm relays. Just empty. Graveyard, Jack repeated. Sounds cheerful. Hostile presence probable. Strategic value, extreme. Jack's eyes narrowed. And what exactly am I supposed to find there? Coordinates to the core vault. The words hung in the air. Even Jack, who rarely flinched, felt the weight of them. The core vault wasn't on any public chart. Rumors said it controlled something far bigger than territory, something that could dictate the flow of entire wars. He ran a hand over the console, the metal warm under his fingers. Guess we'd better not keep it waiting. The sun scale turned toward the dark edge of the map, engines rumbling like a predator waking from hibernation. Somewhere far behind them, Jack imagined R.H. Sal and his crew trying to explain how a primitive had just vanished into a sector no Valari dared enter. By the time the graveyard loomed ahead, Jack wasn't smiling anymore. The graveyard wasn't empty. It was still. The kind of stillness that made sound feel disrespectful. Wreckage drifted in the void, shattered hulls, torn plating, the skeletal frames of ships that once commanded fleets. Some were massive enough to cast shadows over entire cities, others so stripped they were barely more than rusted ribs floating in black water. The sun-scale sensors whispered to life, scanning, classifying, discarding. Jack didn't need the readout to understand what this place was. It was a battlefield that had never been buried, just left to rot under the stars. Cheerful, he muttered. The AI responded in the same calm tone. Conflict site. War founder engagement. Fatalities. Estimated 12 billion. Guess they didn't exchange holiday cards after, Jack said, eyes tracing a battleship's jagged wound where something had torn it open from the inside. The comm pinged. Unfamiliar voice, clipped and formal. This is Commander Vrath of the Valari Defense Wing. Human, you've entered a quarantine zone. Reverse course immediately. Jack didn't answer. He guided the sun scale through a corridor between two fractured cruisers, their weapons long silent. Human, Vrath repeated, you do not understand the danger. Jack cut the channel. Pretty sure I do. As the fighter drifted deeper, the debris thickened, blotting out starlight. Navigation relied entirely on the sunscale's awareness. Its pathfinding was too precise to be guesswork. Approaching coordinate cluster, the AI announced. Multiple energy sources detected. Non-functional. Proceed. Jack adjusted his grip on the controls. Proceed. The hull groaned faintly under shifting pressure gradients. Something about the graveyard didn't behave like normal space. It felt heavier, like the void itself remembered what had happened here. A shape emerged from the dark. It was no simple derelict. It was a fortress ship, kilometers long, its surface scarred with burns that looked molten even after centuries. And painted across its hull, faded but still legible in alien script, was a warning: do not awaken. Jack tilted his head. Subtle. The sun scale slowed, aligning itself with a breach in the fortress's armor. The edges of the wound were melted clean, as if cut by a beam of pure light. Inside, the structure spiraled downward like the hollow core of a seashell. The AI's voice sharpened. Entering restricted founder architecture. All external transmissions blocked. Which meant no one, Valari, pirates, or otherwise, was hearing this conversation. Jack smiled faintly. Good. Let's keep it between us. They descended into the fortress's heart. The walls here were smoother, lined with strange conduits that pulsed dimly as they passed. Every few meters, a skeletal figure floated in the void, non-human, their armor fused to their bones. Some still clutched weapons whose design didn't match any ship in the graveyard. Who were they? Jack asked quietly. Last defenders of the core vault. Genetic profile. Non-Valari. Similarities to human baseline, 48%. Jack's brow furrowed. 48. Implication. Founders may have shared ancestry with humans. That was new. And dangerous. The corridor widened into a cavernous chamber. In the center floated a massive sphere of interlocking rings, each etched with glyphs. It rotated slowly, as if testing its own weight against time. At its core, faint light swirled like a captured storm. Core Vault Access Node detected, the AI said. Candidate authorization required. Jack slid the fighter closer. As they approached, the rings shifted, aligning into a single unbroken surface. Symbols flared to life in a language his mind understood without learning. Welcome, air. His fingers froze over the console. That's direct. Biometric key confirmed, the AI added. Do you wish to proceed? Jack didn't answer immediately. He was too busy calculating how much the Valari knew about this, whether other species suspected it even existed, and what Earth's leadership would do once they held it. The math ended with a single conclusion. Whoever controlled the core vault controlled the galaxy's roads. The comm crackled. Encrypted, close range. RH Sal's voice, urgent and low. Jack, get out of there. RH Sal. Didn't expect you to chase me in here. You don't understand what you found. The vault is a weapon. Not just a map, a weapon. It can cut off entire civilizations in a single command. If you open it, Jack interrupted, calm as ice. Then I'm the one holding the keys. You think you can? Arizal, Jack said, his voice turning from polite to dangerous without raising volume. I don't think. I know. There was silence. Then the channel went dead. The AI repeated its question. Do you wish to proceed? Jack glanced at the vault. For a second, it felt like it was looking back. He thought of the Valari panic, the alien raiders who tried to take the Sunscale, the graveyard littered with the bones of a war no one wanted to talk about. And he thought about Earth, smiling, shaking hands, offering trade agreements, all while keeping a very long knife just out of sight. Yes, Jack said. Proceed. The vault flared. Rings spun faster, light bursting from the seams until the whole chamber glowed. The Sunscale system surged, absorbing data at a rate the displays struggled to keep up with. The AI spoke in a tone Jack hadn't heard before, almost reverent. Control of Galactic Transit Network transferred to candidate. All FTL pathways are now subject to your authorization. Jack let that sink in. Billions of ships. Millions of worlds. And now, one human sitting in an ancient Starfighter decided who could move and who couldn't. A tremor ran through the graveyard. Outside, derelict ships shifted, pulled into new orbits. For the first time in centuries, the battlefield moved. The comm pinged again, this time with multiple channels. Valari commanders, unknown alien warlords, even voices Jack didn't recognize. All demanding to know who had activated the vault. Jack muted them all. AI, he said, send a single message to every ship in range. Content. Jack smiled without humor. Tell them, the roads are under new management. The Sunscale turned slowly in the vault's chamber, preparing to leave. Somewhere far above, he imagined the Valari fleets waiting, uncertain whether to attack or beg. He didn't plan to give them the choice. By the time the fighter slipped back into open space, the graveyard behind them was no longer silent, it was listening. This Chapter 3 keeps the graveyard eerie and heavy, reveals the core vault's true power, and makes Jack's shift from polite guest to decisive predator clear, all while avoiding repetition and keeping the stakes climbing. The armory had become too quiet. Even the ever-present hum of the Varelian Dawn's reactor seemed to fade, replaced by the faint thrum that now pulsed from the armor encasing Daniel's body. It wasn't loud. It was inside him, deep, resonant, alive. Zyra stepped back as though the floor had tilted under her. That shouldn't be possible, she murmured. You're not bonded. You can't be bonded. Daniel flexed his gauntlet fingers, the plates moving with seamless precision as though they'd always belonged to him. The black and gold segments caught the dim light, etching sharp reflections on the walls. You said it was ceremonial, he replied, voice steady but low. You said it wasn't active. It wasn't. Zyra's eyes darted over him, scanning for faults or flaws, anything to explain it away. That suit hasn't recognized a wearer in 600 cycles. Even I couldn't. She cut herself off. Remove it. Now. Daniel tried. He willed the clasps to disengage, but nothing happened. The armor stayed, silent and immovable, its weight neither heavy nor light, just present. Nope. Not happening. Something shifted in the air. The armor's chestplate emitted a faint ripple of golden light, casting thin geometric lines across the bulkheads. Alien glyphs hovered briefly, flickering before vanishing. What does that mean? He asked. Zyra's voice had lost all her earlier mockery. It's choosing you. Daniel gave her a look. And that's bad. For the galaxy? Potentially catastrophic, she said flatly. The inner door hissed open before he could press her further. A towering Varelian guard strode in, weapons already raised. The moment his eyes landed on Daniel, his posture changed, not with hostility, but with hesitation. He lowered his weapon slightly. The armor is active? He asked Zyra. Yes. Her jaw tightened. It's active, on him. The guard's eyes widened. Then protocol dictates. No, she snapped. We don't follow that protocol. Not until I understand what's happening. The guard hesitated, then stepped aside. But the tension didn't leave the room. It wrapped around Daniel like another layer of plating. What exactly does protocol mean in this case? He asked. Zyra didn't answer immediately. She circled him instead, studying every joint and seam, her hands twitching like she wanted to touch the armor but didn't dare. That armor belonged to Vale Core, the first Sentinel. In Varelian history, the one it chooses becomes unstoppable. Daniel raised an eyebrow. Unstoppable how? Zyra's gaze flicked to his eyes. The kind of unstoppable that either saves civilizations or ends them. That thrum in his bones deepened. Not saving anyone yet, he thought grimly. And you were just letting me try it on for a laugh? Her lips pressed into a thin line. Humans aren't even supposed to sync with our tech. I thought the suit would reject you outright. It was a miscalculation. Daniel almost smiled. A miscalculation. That's one way to put it. The guard shifted uneasily. Captain, we're picking up energy fluctuations from the suit. If they spike further, the Council will detect it. Then we move, Zyra said quickly. She turned to Daniel. You're coming with me. Now. And if I don't? Her eyes hardened. Then the Council will come for you, and they won't ask politely. They left the armory in a fast, tense walk. Every Varelian they passed stopped mid-step, their eyes drawn to the black gold plates like iron to a magnet. Whispers followed in a language Daniel didn't understand, but their tone carried both fear and awe. This is ridiculous, he muttered. 1 minute I'm just a passenger on your ship, the next. You're not just anything anymore, Zyra interrupted. The armor wouldn't activate without reason. It must sense something in you. Daniel snorted. Maybe it just likes my sense of style. Her glance was sharp. Don't joke. It's dangerous enough that it's bonded to a non-Varelian. If the wrong factions hear about this. She didn't finish. She didn't have to. The way she kept scanning corners said enough. They reached the lift. The door closed, sealing them into a small capsule of silence. Daniel leaned against the wall. So what's your plan? Hide me in a closet until your people calm down. No, she said. I'm taking you to the core. The core. The heart of the armor's memory. If it's truly chosen you, it will open. She hesitated. And if it opens, you'll see why the galaxy stopped making them. The lift hummed downward, each floor a blur. When the doors finally opened, they stepped into a chamber that felt wrong in scale. Too vast, too dark. A single circular platform waited in the center, surrounded by a ring of dim blue light. "Step onto it," Zyra instructed. Daniel eyed her. "And this won't vaporize me?" "No," she said. "Probably." He stepped forward, the armor's boots clicking against the platform. The blue ring flared to life, lines of light racing outward into the darkness. The air grew heavy. A voice, not Zyra's, spoke in a language he didn't know, yet somehow understood. Bearer recognized. Access granted. A pulse of energy shot through him. Images flooded his vision, battlefields under alien skies, ships tearing through fleets, a single armored figure standing against entire armies. Each scene ended the same way. Victory at a terrible cost. Daniel staggered back, breath ragged. That was him? Vale Core. Zyra nodded slowly. And now, it could be you. The armor's inner system surged again, and he felt something settle, an unspoken pact, forged not by choice but by recognition. "Great," he muttered. "I guess we're skipping the manual." Her eyes narrowed. "We'll need allies. And a plan. The moment the Council finds out, you'll be hunted, by everyone who wants the armor, and everyone who wants it destroyed." Daniel straightened, the weight of the vision still heavy in his mind. "Then we make sure they find neither." The armor pulsed once, almost like agreement. Somewhere deep in the Varelian dawn, alarms began to sound.